Hey everyone, today I recorded the first video in this series with Braeden. And Braeden created Chesski, which is this really cool app here that helps you get better at chess by having you play games against the computer, and at the same time, AI describes what's going on the chessboard and tells you more about strategy. Now, this is a super cool app that you can check out at chesky.lol. And if you'd like to check out a super cool conversation with Braeden, just keep listening to the video. Yeah, in general, I just have some questions, just like about like your app that you've been working on, just kind of like general stories, some challenges and things that you've learned from overcoming those challenges, future plans, and then just kind of questions about, how you decided to join Buildspace and go full time on your project. And yeah, just like a little bit about the community and kind of your key takeaways from this whole journey so far.
Sounds good, man. Let's go.
Okay, sweet. So what is the story behind you creating this app? I just got on board about 2 weeks ago. But have you always really been into chess, or was this just something that you saw an opportunity to integrate AI into? Or yeah, could you just tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've kind of always been interested in chess, like since like middle school, elementary school. But I never really never really took it too seriously. So it's just something I was like kind of like passively interested in. And then when COVID hit, I was not really doing a whole lot. So started playing chess a lot more. The Queen's Gambit came out like kind of when everybody got like kind of hooked on it.
Yeah.
So I was playing a lot more then, and like I'm the type of person that likes I like to be good at things. So like I don't want to just like play chess and like keep losing all my games. So I was like studying things, mainly YouTube videos, like openings courses, things like that. And I was just like it was kind of all over the place, like like hard to find like one place I can go and just get better. Cause like I can go to
Mm,
chess.com and I can play games. I can go like do Puzzle Rush. I can go to like Coursera or not Coursera, like Chessable to learn openings or read some books or something. But like there wasn't like one place I could just go to learn everything. So I started
totally.
thinking around last year. I was like, what if I could like build that thing where it's just like one place you can go to get better. Um, yeah, that's kind of the story of like how I got the idea and like why I started building it.
Yeah, that's super sweet and totally makes a lot of sense how that journey has kind of come together. Um, and so, when you decided to, integrate AI into this application. Can you tell me a little bit about how you took just like a general language model and then actually built in all like the instructions and the ability for it to, I guess, both understand the chess game that's going on and offer advice on like how to play better strategy wise?
So I haven't actually done anything special to yet, like anything special yet. I'm just using GPT-4. GPT-4 was trained like on a bunch of like random data from the internet, but that included in that was like a bunch of chess data. So like
Oh,
if you actually ask GPT-4 to play chess with you, according to some people on the internet, maybe Will Depew, it plays at around like 1800. So it's pretty decent at like playing chess. It
yeah,
struggles a lot more with like explaining chess moves because like it's trained on like all of the like game data from like grandmaster games, right? Like that was in
yeah,
its training set, so it knows like, oh, after after this line of moves, this move is commonly played, so this move must be good, so I can play that move. But like
okay,
it's not really good at explaining that concept. So really what I do is like give it some like kind of fancy prompting. It's just like basically I give it a lot of context, like the position, the move that led up to the position, stockfish analysis, and then like all of that, and then I basically get it to like what the user sees, like a very like short little like 1 2 sentence prompt or like 1 2 sentence response, but in the back
hmm,
end it's like a lot of basically I tell it to like think step by step, like go move by move, like explain like why this move would be good under all of that. And like that just kind of helps it to explain its reasoning process. And then after it does all of that, I actually tell it to give the like the 1 sentence explanation to the user and like to make the recommendation. So that's really
gotcha.
all I'm doing. It's just like a lot of fancy prompting. Um,
Interesting. And so is the AI that you're playing against in terms of like the other player, is that running off of the GPT prompt, or does that have a separate sort of decision-making
No,
process?
so that's Stockfish that I run just like in WebAssembly in the browser. So the bot that's actually playing against you is just like a chess engine, and then
Oh,
GPT is like getting analysis from that chess engine, like understanding, like basically getting the context from it, and then giving recommendations to the user.
okay, sweet. Sweet. Good to know. Thank you. And so, in this process of building out the entire app, what was kind of the most challenging piece for you? And, what did you end up learning from overcoming that challenge?
So when you say like building the app, do you mean like actually like the technical side, or like the overall process?
It could be either. Like in the past, for me, actually building out applications tends to be easier, but things like, marketing and getting it out there is typically a little bit more difficult for me. But up
Yeah,
to you.
I think I'm in the same boat with that for the most part. Like Chesky isn't my first project that I've built. Like I've done other stuff in the past. Like the problem with me is not figuring out the technical side. Like if I sit down for like if I'm passionate about something, I just sit down with it for a while. I'll figure out how to make it work. The problem is just like the problem has always been getting other people to care. Um, so like that's kind of in a similar boat with Chesky. It's just like I built most of like the basic tech in like a couple weeks, and then it was just like, okay, I can sit here and do more like to actually make that better, or I can start getting in people's hands and like allow them to like kind of guide the process like what they want. So that's really like that's something Buildspace has helped me with a lot, is like how do you get the thing out to other people, like I guess marketing, but it's less marketing, more just like getting people to care and like getting people's feedback on it. And then like I don't know, once you do that, it kind of guides like what you should be building rather than just like kind of doing it from your own head and like making stuff up.
Yeah, definitely. And I noticed that since our last conversation, it definitely seemed like you'd been integrating some of those feedback points that you had mentioned you were getting from a lot of people. So it was really cool to see that development and just like forward. Like one thing I specifically really liked was so I went in from the browser on my phone, which I last time was going from my computer, and I
Mm,
really liked how I was able to start playing right away. And
yeah,
then after a couple moves, it asked me to sign in. I feel like that was almost kind of like a hook, which I thought was really creative that you did.
yeah. I think one piece of feedback that I got a lot was like people were didn't want to like link, didn't want to sign in or sign up before they actually knew what it was. So it was
Mm,
just like, how do I basically allow people to like get a taste of like, oh, what is this thing? Like, how is it actually gonna teach me chess? And then after that, I asked them to sign in so they can actually keep using it. I can like store some of their data and like kind of personalize the experience a little bit. Um,
totally.
the thing with that though is like I got a lot of churn now. So like people will like do the three moves and then be like, oh, I don't want to sign up still, and then they'll just like drop off. So I
Mm.
still have to do some more work to like actually just like make the app better. That's kind of what I was thinking about last night. It's like how do I increase the value and like make it more obvious so like I can convert more of the people who are training right now.
Yeah, do you have any ideas on kind of like next features that you're planning on developing or anything like that?
Um, yeah, so I started working with a guy that's helping me with product design. So like basically basically it's like three stages is kind of what we're thinking right now.
Hmm.
There's like the training, there's practicing, and then there's analyzing. So right now the only thing to implement is like the practicing phase, where you can like actually play games against like the engine Stockfish, and then you can get like kind of feedback as you're playing. So that's like you're practicing, like you're actually playing the games. And
Yeah.
then the training mode would be more like actually teaching you like, okay, what is what are certain opening, like what are opening principles, like what is castling, all the like kind of like I guess like things that you need to know to advance to the next level. So
Yeah.
we're kind of thinking of it like everybody's at a different stage of chess, but it's more like we can kind of categorize those stages. Like the beginner players who really only know like, oh, they know how pieces move, but they don't know anything about like the principles, like the theory. And then there's intermediate players who like studied some tactics, know some openings and some stuff, but they're not as practiced enough. And then there's like advanced and like master players who like really just like needed to like tune their weaknesses.
Hmm.
So what we're trying to do with Chesky now is just help people to advance one level. So help people go from beginner stage to intermediate stage, and then in the training, it's what what are the the fundamental concepts that you need to know in order to advance from beginner to intermediate, like things like central control, like piece development, like king safety, things like that. Like how do we
Hmm.
teach that to them, like in a simple but fun way, and then that's the part of the training module. And then once they actually done some of that, they can go to the practice. They can actually play games, and after a certain amount of games, like if they actually show that they're learning or that they've learned those skills, they can advance to the next intermediate stage.
That's really cool. I like that. And like you mentioned earlier, I also kind of feel like when I play games, I really like to learn and improve and get better at them. And so
Yeah,
I'm definitely in that beginner camp where I've played a fair amount of chess, but I don't actually know any of the theory. And everything that you just described sounds really interesting to me. I like that a lot.
yeah, man. Um, it's still like a work in progress. Like I haven't actually started building any of that tech out right now.
Yeah.
Early this week, I was focused on like onboarding, like the new flow you mentioned, like where you sign in or where
Mm.
you go to the app and you can start playing, and then after a couple moves, it asks you to sign in. That was the onboarding flow that I implemented. Well, I actually shipped it yesterday, so like that's just a new change. And
So
then
you did that over the past week.
yeah, so I started on
Nice.
Monday. Had like a basic thing working by Tuesday, got some feedback on it, and then I shipped it yesterday.
That's really impressive. I really like it.
Thank you.
Oh, sweet. So if you want to talk a little bit about Buildspace now, everyone's kind of got their own story of, what season they hopped into online and their kind of beginner projects. So, yeah, I guess how did you hear about Buildspace? How did you get involved? And yeah.
So I'm not sure like how common knowledge this is, but Buildspace actually, at least when I found out about Buildspace, they were not they weren't doing the nights and weekends thing. Like they didn't have like the SF campus. They didn't have any of that. It was more just like an online place where you could do like tutorials in Web3. So it was like basically they did like how do you develop those Ethereum smart contracts? How do you deploy like NFTs on Solana? That type of stuff. And that's kind of when I got involved with them. It was like I think late 2021. I was like it was like peak COVID. I wasn't really doing a whole lot. I was kind of getting bored with school because school was like not applicable to things that I actually cared about doing. And so I was like, how do I actually get like some practical experience and like start building things that are interesting and people care about. And
Hmm.
I was also interested in crypto at the time, so like Buildspace was kind of a perfect fit. So I started doing their online tutorials in late 2021, and then after a couple of years, I started doing some nights and weekend stuff. And I didn't join the first couple of seasons of nights and weekends because I was actually working at the time at a blockchain company. But then season three, I just left my job because I was kind of lost a little bit of interest in the Web3 space, and I wasn't really as like passionate about the work I was doing. So I kind of left the company, and then Buildspace Nights and Weekends season three started, and I was like, okay, let me try my hand at actually starting to build stuff. Um, and then I did season three, I did season four, and then after season four, there was like applications for the SF2 campus. I was like, I'm just gonna apply and see what happens, and now I'm here.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I always think it's really interesting when people in that community finally make that decision to go full time on their ideas. I think it's super sweet.
Yeah, like for me, it was like this is always something I've wanted to do. Like I've always wanted, like I'm the type of person like I don't like being told what to do. To like oh yeah, that's really
Yeah,
all
I
it is.
feel you.
Like I don't like being told what to do. I like to like iterate on my own ideas. Like I like to be like free to choose what I want to spend my time on. And
Hmm.
so when I started working with I was working at like a blockchain NFT startup. It was like building basically a marketplace as a service on Solana. When I started, it was actually because I had been working on a similar product myself, and like just in amongst like different NFT communities. I saw that they were working, and then I kind of like reached out to them, and they gave me a job. But at the start, I was like kind of taking like iterating on my own ideas, like just within their company, and then they kind of like slowed down and stagnated a little bit, and I just kind of got bored. So I left there. I left them. Um, and I was like, I want to do something. Like I want to be more free to like actually have more impact on in the work I do. So I don't know. Build space is kind of something that's always like spoken to me. It's always something I've like kind of the way I want to live my life. I was just like I wasn't sure how to do it. And now I'm learning. So
Yeah, I think it's really cool that, you know that about yourself and now you're actually out there living it and you're actually doing it. Super sweet.
thank
So,
you,
can
man.
you tell me a little bit more about how it's been going with SF2? Just like the people in general that you've met, how it feels to build in an actual physical community. Even though, like you said, you are working by yourself, you're working alongside a bunch of other really cool people.
Yeah. So SF2, like the people are really cool. Everybody's working on like their own project. Like it's pretty crazy to be in a space. Like I've never been in a space like this before. It's like you can like everybody's working on their own project, and you can literally talk to anybody, and they all know like they all know what you're working on, and they all like give a shit. Like they're all like they kind of care. Like I've had like obviously I have friends like that are like working or like friends that are in school and things like that. Like I'll tell them, oh, I'm building this project. And I'll have a like conversation. The conversation is not really like it doesn't really go in depth. It's just like oh, like surface level is just like oh, you're building this. That's kind of cool. Let's do this thing now. Like let's go to the bar. Let's go climb. Let's do something. But like
Hmm.
here, it's everybody is like actually invested in your story because like we do a thing called like Friday's exam day. Like every day you have to get up on stage and like tell everybody what you did for that week. And so that like lets people basically get a kind of like a mirror or like a window into your like what you're doing. And so everybody's following your story week to week. And so when you go tell someone like, oh, I just got like X amount of users on my app, it was like, oh, really? You were at like zero. Like, how did you do this? It's just like people are actually asking like interesting questions, and so it's a much more like I don't know, like thoughtful experience. I don't know. It's just I
I
really
really
enjoy
like
it.
that. That sounds really nice. And so, how many
Yeah.
of you are there in the group?
30, 35, I think. But like
Nice.
30 something. So like
That's really cool.
not too big, not too small. It's like a high school classroom size. Like they call Buildspace a school, and it really is meant to be like that. It's like everybody, like like we have like desks, like we have like lunch. Well, we don't have lunchtime, but like we have like a cafeteria area, and like everybody's kind of friends, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's really nice. And also just in a really good place to be around a bunch of other people who are also going through different but similar processes to you.
Yeah, like everybody can kind of relate to your story and like what you're going through because like everybody's been through some stage of that. 'Cause, like we're all like not everybody's doing like startups, but like everybody's like entrepreneurial in a sense. Like everybody's
Hmm.
like kind of gone through what they call like the trough of sorrow, which is just like you start out on your journey and then like it starts going really well because you're getting some traction, and then at some point there's just like a dip, and then you're like this is actually kind of hard, and then you're just like you're kind of in this like the sunken place for like some amount of time. But it's easier to be in that place when you know that there's also other people that are there who have like kind of guide you through, and you can kind of talk to about the process because they actually understand what you're going through.
Yeah, that's really nice. And also, I feel like to have, a little bit of structure in terms of like mentorship, like in guidelines, like you mentioned that you do the things on Friday. I've also seen online some of the different seminars that they have around like, how to style your social media posts and things like that. Have those resources really spoken to you much or not so much?
Yeah, so there's like two style lectures. There's like Farza's talks, which is like fundamentals of like building like I guess fundamentals working on your own ideas, and then there's what they call like DMW, which is design, marketing, writing. Um, those have been like really helpful. Like they're I guess like twice a week, usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Um, so Farza's talks, he talks more about like basics of like work on your ideas, like how to get people to care, like how to actually like focus and like what to like how to pick what to work on, things like that. Those are pretty helpful because like he's usually sharing like stories from his own life and like how he's done it. And, like obviously, Bars has been building things since he was 13, so he has like a pretty good perspective on like how things work. Obviously he's not a perfect person, but like we can learn from his experience, and that's kind of what the point of those are. And then for DMW, it's like basically almost a different person every week. But the thing, like, I don't know, just like learning from these people like Stavan, Jeffrey, like these are people who are like really good at like what they do, right? Like Jeffrey is like really good at writing. Like he does like basically all of the writing for Buildspace, like
Oh,
all
I
the
didn't know
emails,
that.
like all of the kind of copy and stuff. And so like
Yeah.
when you go like his lecture on like how to write and like how to get people to basically, it's like you have to express your intention in your writing, and then you have to like make it easily understandable because like nobody wants to read like a bunch of like paragraphs like blob of text because like nobody had that much time, like nobody that interested like in a random person sending them an email. So you have
Yeah.
to be concise and you have to express your intent and like what the other person gets out of it. Like that was like a really good way for me to think about writing. It's like when I'm writing emails now, like that's the thing trying to think about. Like what is my intention? What action do I want the person to take after reading the email? And then
Hmm.
how can I provide value to them? And like how do I express that in the email? And then even fucking Stubbins lectures, those are probably one of my favorites. It's like he's he's been a designer. Like he's from a family of designers, and he's been designing basically his whole life. Like his process for it is like it's actually ridiculous. Like he like I don't know the way he talks about it, and like his eye for it is just it's just on another level. It's like being able to like talk to him about like how do I design my landing page? How do I design like this in order to convey this meaning? Like he's has that like experience and like he has an eye for it, so he can just like kind of talk you through it, which is really helpful.
Yeah, yeah, super nice to have like those resources in addition to the cohort of people that you've been working with too. That's super sweet. So yeah, I mean, I guess my last question is just like overall with all this process of being in build space and your time leading up to it, what are some of your key takeaways in just like the entrepreneurial and builder space?
I think like the one key thing that Buildspace like kind of preaches above all else is just like you just gotta do the thing and then you gotta ship the thing. Like you have to do the thing, you have to share the thing. So like don't spend all your time like thinking about an idea. You actually have to like iterate on it, and then in order to iterate on it well, you have to actually share it with people. So you have to like that's really my like only advice, like my biggest takeaway. Like you have to have like, if you have an idea, you have to actually act on it. And then the best way to act on it, the best way to get is actually share it and get feedback, and like that helps you iterate on it and like actually make it better over time. Because like you're not going to get anywhere if the idea's in your head, and you're also not going to get anywhere if it's just like if it's only you that sees it. Like if you're just like spending like a year working on the same project, but you never show it to anybody, then that project is likely going to be trashed because you haven't gotten anybody else's opinion on it. The other thing is just like if you can find other people like who like if you can find a way to like work around like like-minded people, then that's probably the best bet because like they're gonna push you so much farther than you would get on your own. Like not only like giving you feedback on your ideas, but just like someone to talk to about like the ups and downs, and then someone to actually give a shit about like what you're doing is actually like very helpful from a mental perspective, and nothing at least if nothing else.
Yeah, I really, really like both of those takeaways. Those are both great things. And yeah, I guess in general, I really appreciate you helping me get this idea out of my head and starting to work on it.
No
Um,
problem.
yeah, I hope this was overall a positive experience. I've never really done anything before like this, but I had a lot of fun talking with you today. This was really interesting.
Yeah, man. I had fun with it too. This is I guess second kind of interview style thing I've done like this.
Hmm.
The first one was actually part of uh Night Week of S3, so that was a while ago. But yeah, it was fun, man.
Sweet.
I'm not one to really talk about my story very much, but it's interesting, so
I mean,
kind
I
of fun.
think it was really interesting, and I think you have a really cool product too. I mean, that's why when I saw it online, I was pretty instantly drawn to it, and it's been really nice getting to know you too as well.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Um,
So thanks for listening to my conversation with Braden. Please leave any feedback that you have in the comments. Go check out Braden's app at chesky.lol. And if you like content like this, I will be releasing more of these conversations weekly. Thanks.